On Wednesday, October 13th, 2022, Supervisor of Elections Caroline Fawkes read her interoffice October 12th, 2022 email aimed at St. Thomas St. John Board of Elections member Harriet Mercer in the public square known as the Radio 1000 Morning Show with Commish. By her reading, the presentation of what may have been previously considered confidential internal communication instantly became elevated to the level of public consumption, debate, agreement, or rebuttal. However, unbeknownst to the listening audience, Ms. Fawkes was deliberatively strategic as to which sections of her email she recited in order to leave an intended positive perception relative to her credibility and integrity. Conversely, she was equally scheming to knowingly conceal threats made with certainty and willfully failed to disclose conjured allegations against an undeserving Mercer, contained in the same email, to avoid generating an inflammatory impression that could likely incite an already suspicious public against Fawkes. Simply put, what people say sometimes is not as important as what they don't say. As a shining example of someone who should singularly role model transparency and accountability to promote public confidence in the election system and perform in the best interests of voters at all times, Ms. Fawkes' overall verbal presentation was misleading and deceptive by virtue of her silent omissions. On the other hand, the black letter portion of the source document she read was further intertwined with wild, speculative allegations. Fraud is a deception, either by act or omission. Quote, knowing failure to disclose material information necessary to prevent a statement from being misleading, or making representations despite the knowledge that it has no reasonable basis in fact, these are actionable as fraud under the law, end quote. What is presented now is Ms. Fawkes' reading of her email on Commish's show and will be interrupted to draw attention to the portions of her presentation she chose deliberately not to share.
So I know what the requirements are, but I want you to say it because some people call here and they're still complaining.
They are, I know. And I'm sorry to say Commish, but it's always St. Thomas voters. You don't need that to say Inquiry voters not complaining. And I got the last topic, so don't run out my time for the last
topic. Go ahead.
So the last hot topic is where there's a video that's circulating that's on the Fox. So I wrote the board members when I done my due diligence investigation, and I want everyone to know I'm a retired colonel with 32 years of honorable service, and I will not do anything dishonorable to spoil my character. So I have no time for the game. I came out with a top secret clearance, and I do my research. I don't call the radio every day to answer because I don't need to. I have a communication strategist out there that tell me when to respond and when to keep quiet. So I brought it to the board attention, serious and dangerous matter. That was yesterday at 10:30. I am always encouraging my staff to take photos, and sometimes they wonder why, but I'm a photo person, document history.
I see.
So now today we have a reason why.
Just one statement among others that was intended to discourage and intimidate Harriet Mercer is the omission of the implied certainty of legal action against Ms. Mercer. If you'll notice, Ms. Fawkes started her statement on the Commish's show by reading this: I would like to bring to your attention a serious and dangerous matter. Remember those words, people. My staff and board members wonder why I'm always taking and encouraging my staff to take photos. And she stopped there. She didn't read, well, here's why for times like this. But more importantly, she did not include the statement, also to be used in the court of law. That is an implied certainty of legal action.
Board member Mercer has a video circulating with falsehood.
Falsehood?
Member Mercer, let me read it. I'm sorry, that's 7 facts. Then Mercer went into the training room on Saturday, the day of the expo, when all the machines are set up for testing and charging. We do that all the time. Synchro, it was the same setup. They all plug up together, charging away, open in the conference room because our workers are there. We got cameras, so we know what's going on. So she go in there and she videotaped the machines charging. If you look at the video, you will notice all the machines are similarly aligned. All the DS200 and all the express boot machines. But little did she know that when we come to test machines, we move them around. So she took that video on Saturday and she have it circulating like it was on the 4th of October. Mm-hmm. So we have the testing pictures. Ms. Mercer is standing in the section pictures, taking no videos, and none of the machines are lined. The 4 machines, the 8 machines that we needed for early voting are pulled. There's early voting machines in between the express vote machines. And I asked my staff to post those pictures to our Facebook page so you can go and look at them to compare the video. We pulled the machines closer to the door to check. So being a military person like I am, I interviewed, I look at both pictures. I could tell you the chairs, the table, the windows, the carpet, where they position, and they were not. The pictures for testing is completely different. Secondly, they all talk about the error that was found on the ballot, that they had a primary name on there. Well, the same error was found on St. Croix, and the board members addressed it and moved forward. They didn't go public with it like she's trying to do. That's what it's all about. It's one election, and the election is created in St. Croix, wherever the supervisor is. It was created, sent to a secure file. All they can do in St. Thomas is download the job drive and put it in to set up the machine. They can't make any changes. They can't make any addition. Thirdly, the testing and certification deals with the jump drive in the compartment. The compartment is sealed with a tape, and nobody got the picture of that tape, but it's sealed with a tape that says void. Anybody touch that tape, it shows. The only time that tape is removed is when the judge takes it out in front of the police and the public,
places
it in a bag that can't come out, returns in the police car with the police. Those blue seals that Ms. Mercer is talking about, we put them on to just ensure, but when you get to the voting site, we have to break them to put the ballots in to show the public that they're empty. So those blue seals really doesn't mean anything. But here we have four technicians, and 8 machines to seal. And yet she's saying they came down too quick, they can't seal it. These guys been doing that for 8 years. They're IT professionals in their jobs, all over government, plus UBI students that I got recruited with IT background, coding, etc. So what you're really doing is embarrassing them, the family members, and you're not hurting or just only the board. We have workers that work for us. How do you think their family members, wife, mother feel when you're tarnishing their character and their career by saying that they're cheating and they're leaving and they left before everything was done? They leave when they know it's appropriate, because we have ballots to put in those bins that the folks will open up and count at the early voting site before 9 o'clock. The records are all there. Those are emergency bins, and one is, like I said, with a blue ballot thing. Number 3, only the express vote, the DS200, only the DS200s are sealed, not the express vote machine. So if you think there's a board member that has been there for 4 years, this is the second election, and they don't know the procedures, we have a problem. 4th, again, I talk about the 4 seals, it is the outer casting at the back. 5th, like I said, 4 technicians were there, and they could do that in a minute, put a paper across the seal. In addition, section 506 I like to read. It tells you that the board can appoint 1 board member to view the process, and B, which they're not reading to you, clearly states, if any error is detected, the cause thereof shall be ascertained.
The time is now 10:30.
And an errorless count shall be made before the electronic voting machine is approved for use in the election. That means it could happen that day. So don't go out there and fool the people and say, well, you think it's our pay name. That's correct. We use the primary and then we fill it in from there. We are human, mistake happened. So the name was switched out. He went, he qualified it in front of the people that were there so they could see the process. And I'm glad it happened so they could see what we have to do. But it's nothing he could do. He wasn't programming. He just qualified the machine. And again, the IT voting technician, we had ESNS coming from away doing that. We got our own to do it. And they are tearing down our own local IT technician. That's what you're really doing. ESNS is always on site because they know how our persons are. And so they're here for each election. But if you look and see, they only monitor because our persons are experienced, they are competent, and they know what they're doing. But because Virgin Islanders don't trust them, I got to pay ESNS money to come here and sit for them to watch them do the work so that St. Thomas voters could be happy. And lastly, again, the defaming the office of the supervisor, whether it's Ms. Douglas, the staff, and I being military, I don't take it on. But again, ain't every staff like me. Staff members have family members. We have members been working in election for 15, 20, 30 years. And we continue to tarnish them. And like I said, we open and transparent. Come and see. But no one comes. But they call you and see. But we know the process. So again, come in and see.
Next, if you follow the document down to the section where there's a blue outline creating a box, you will read further that Ms. Fawkes says, I can't understand how a board member of 4 years don't know this process. It's only important now that you are on the ballot, referring to Ms. Mercer. We deal with every candidate the same, whether a board member or not. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's not true. When a candidate wins with the same voting machines, the election is fair. When a candidate loses, it's rigged or someone cheated. You raise a sleeping giant. I had a top secret security clearance in the military and know how to fully investigate matters. And she goes on further, I also will be sending this video to other IT examiners, the election security team, and maybe the FBI task force set up for elections in DC. This statement is tied to her opening remark characterizing this matter as serious and dangerous, which would be necessary language to bring the FBI forces upon Ms. Mercer, and this is supported by the FBI flyer she included in her October 12, 2022 email to Board of Election members, election staff, Mr. Hecht, and St. Thomas St. John Board of Elections member, Ms. Mercer. In the flyer, it warns foreign actors likely to use information manipulation tactics for 2022 national U.S. midterm elections. What connection there is between that and the U.S. Virgin Islands is a stretch. Again, bluff and bluster meant to intimidate and discourage Board of Elections member Ms. Mercer by attempting to leverage her own imagination against her. Also conveniently admitted from the Fawkes reading is, we have reached the lowest of the lowest. We spend the last 9 years building up our transparency for this to happen from within. Trust me, people, the number of documented middle fingers candidates, voters, and the public have received from the District Board of Elections and the election system to include this supervisor over the last 9 years have all come from within. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, remember? To continue in her reading, Fawkes also failed to transparently include the claim, we have other videos you, meaning Harriet Mercer, made changing up your voice and then getting others to share on their social page so they can't think it came from others. Amazing. Fawkes was also careful not to add, I have communications strategists, the public being my eyes and ears. They are working with me and they get the temperature from all the talk shows, which I hardly listen to. What's falsely dangerous I will address on all the St. Thomas radio talk shows. Uh-oh, looks like Ms. Mercer is outgunned and surrounded. Lastly, Ms. Fawkes excluded her promise to include a photo of Ms. Mercer taken October 3rd during the evening when testing was accomplished for early voting. So what? To date, no court case has been filed, no FBI referral has been made, no Facebook posting of any photos as promised, and no evidence of Facebook posts showing Ms. Mercer changed up her voice and no video proving Ms. Mercer recorded voting machines on October 1st during the Saturday Expo as Ms. Fawkes claims, and then falsely used it as the basis for an October 4th video. Intimidation and discouragement.
And lastly, like I said, not voting is not a protest. It's a surrender. And that's by former Congressman Attorney General Keith Ellison. So by you causing doubt in those persons that say, I'm not going to vote, some not even registered, and then those persons going to register to vote, though, I'm sure board member most and those other folks are going to vote. But yet they're causing doubt in your mind, so you don't vote. Again, we're doing our best with what we have. We are more progressive than any state in elections. I have a system now that I can sit in my office and get the numbers from St. John, St. Thomas, and Croix. No longer the judges have to call in. And our next election is for all judges to have interpret so they can do the report electronically. So as they continue to do the best, we continue to do our best to serve the public. Again, we thank you for your support. There was one correction I made. When I called in that day with DLA, I mentioned I heard Ms. Mercer, but what happened, the person that texted me heard it, but they didn't tell me it was not heard publicly, so I publicly approached. She was not on the radio station, but the person, Mr. Cynthia Williams, was leading the consortium news, and it did say that she apologized to the board. Because again, Ms. Mercer stated, and she stated, she did not say that Ms. Douglas came in after her and clarified. She was there. She placed the field there. Ms. Mercer left before the process was. That's what she apologized for, that she didn't stay to watch the process. So I don't have the time to go back and forth with anyone in the media. I'm here to do a job. Early voting has been exceptional from the beginning to now.
A well job.
Thank you to the staff. Thank you to the staff is what those is. Like I said, I'm not even in the office right now. I'm phone calling you. So the work is going on. They started at 9 o'clock, and I know the election officials are doing their best because they're honestly trying to improve our process. Like I said, we started with early voting at 14 days. Look at where we are now. In the States, it could be 50 days. The average is 30. Even to that, member Monta wanted to knock down. You go to the gas station and you buy gas. You don't know how long the gas is sitting there, but you buy it anyway. Right. And you're going to complain about how long the ballot sitting in a box that seals. And that's why I took an additional step. I got consortium and MDM videotaping. They videotape the morning opening, the closing, the next day, and they're going to videotape the closing, the last day, so we could put this video on our website for future reference, so they could see our process that we utilize from the beginning to now.
A straightforward process.
Thank you very much. That's all I know how to do, straightforward.
Okay, Colonel.
Thank you so much. And
Welcome.
anyone wants to reach out to me, they can email us, whoever you need. The invitation is there. We have a few persons that are now taking it up. But in the beginning, no one came to visit. I don't need anyone to come and sit all day. They can come and watch the this morning and evening. You don't need a poll watcher certificate to do that. I invited them, a public invitation. Tell me the names of who you want to send, and we willingly have them. But getting on the radio every day and complaining about a law that doesn't exist doesn't mean anything to Ms. Fawkes. I tell them I have nothing else to submit to the senator, and I stand my ground.
Okay. Thank you for all that information. But you know, there are some who are going to say it's not accurate.